Hi, this is Dr. Todd Kays, sports psychologist and mental coach. I'm coming to you from my office in the golf room, and I want to talk today about how minor changes equal major differences. Anytime you pay attention to details, and you've probably heard this over and over again in many different sports, in business, in life, that the most successful people pay attention to details. And by doing so, they are more successful. By doing the little things, particularly maybe the saying that you remember, doing all the little things when no one's looking. Well, that is so true in golf. When you address, perform, practice the minor differences, you're going to get eventually major changes, meaning lower scores, meaning more scholarship, meaning greater opportunities at higher levels, meaning making cuts on the mini tour players. But so many people and so many golfers that I see, especially juniors, they do not pay attention enough to these minor differences, and therefore they don't get the major changes. So for example, from a mental standpoint, it is so important that you develop tight, detailed, very specific practice plans. And this might appear hard at first, and probably is a little bit hard. But those are the things that are going to get you the major changes. So for example, you need to have a purpose when you go out and practice. You need to write in a journal about the one or two mental things, one or two skill things you're going to work on in that practice. And then you need to stop in the middle of practice and remind yourself of those goals. That is a minor difference that will bring about a major change. Another thing is you need to do, and I talked in a previous video, how the pre-shot visualization is so critical to the pre-shot routine. And so many times I see golfers kind of doing that halfway, sometimes not doing it at all in practice. And if you're not doing it in practice, you're typically not going to do it when you're in tournament play because you haven't ingrained it. And there's a lot of other things that go on when you're in tournaments, specifically adrenaline, specifically nerves, specifically distractions, specifically you put pressure on yourself. But if you don't make those minor changes in practice, you're not going to do them in tournament play and make the major change of lower scores. Another example is when you're practicing and it's really not about your swing, and you're not practicing your pre-shot routine. You have to do your pre-shot routine every single time out there. And if you don't practice it while you're practicing, the chances of your pre-shot routine being all that it could be, which is meant to truly set your body and your mind up to allow your body and your skill to come out, you're probably not going to do it in tournament play, or at least it's going to be very inconsistent. Again, we go back to the basis of this whole video. Minor changes bring about major differences. So you have to really commit to these minor changes, to these minor things that you do in practice. They may not seem like, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow. It's no big deal. My pre-shot visualization, I'll do it when I get into tournament play. Many times that doesn't happen. And if it does, it's not as tight and sharp as it could be. And it may only be there 50, 60, maybe 70% of the time. Well, again, that lack of major change in your practice will not lead to a major difference in your score. If anything, it will maybe add strokes to your score. Because again, as we've talked, that there are three components. There's your body, there's your skill, and there's your mind. And in all three of those things, if you're not paying attention and performing the major and not performing the minor changes, you're not going to have any major differences. So in your workouts, you know, and you're supposed to do, let's say, 10-minute planks. You're supposed to work towards that. 5-minute planks, 2-minute planks. But you bail out, or you only do it, when you're supposed to do it 3 times a week, you only do it once or twice. With your wedges, let's say you're supposed to hit 20 different wedges, to 20 different distances, to 20 different targets. Well, you decide, I'll just hit the same wedge to the same target, and then I'll be done. Now, that may not seem like a whole lot, but I'm telling you, from working with tour players to mini tour players to high-level college players to juniors, all the way across the board, that the ones who engage in the minor differences in practice are the ones who get the major changes in their score. So you have to ask yourself, look in the mirror and say, what is it that you want? If your goals are based on getting to a place where major changes are required to get to higher and higher levels, then you need to create practices with details and the minor differences that may not seem like much on that given day, but in the end, they mean a whole lot in terms of your long-term goals. This is Dr. Todd Kays. I'll see you next time.